is in 3D. And notice how it's kind of intersecting here. So actually I kind of want to pull it this way a little bit, so that way it's outside of that and it's not intersecting. So let's go ahead and do another one. I'm going to, again, select my text option here, and let's go ahead and label our window frame. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, pull that out, and again, it's trying to give me dimensions, but I'm just going to type the type of surface that is, and that's aluminum, and then just click. So again, it's giving me a label that always faces the camera, so that's kind of nice. So let's go ahead and just do one more here. I'm going to, let's go ahead and just go to this ground cover here, and click here, and let's just say that back and forth and reposition them. Let's do one more. Let's do one for height here. So I'm going to go ahead and snap to the top of this chimney and go down to the bottom, and again, pull this out. So as you can see, we've got our dimensions. Now this particular building is in the metric system, but this works just as well for imperial measurements as well. And if we want, we can change these just a little bit. We can certainly move them or reposition them as we want. Or if we right-click above them, we can edit our text. In fact, we can type whatever we want in there. I'm not going to do that. Or if we right-click over it, we can change the position. We can change it to the top, the outside of the end, or the bottom. I usually like to keep these in the middle. So as you can see, it's a very simple tool, but also very valuable if you want to present your work to others. Now let's take a look at how to stay organized in SketchUp. To organize your scenes, but probably the simplest way is to group objects. And this just takes a collection of faces and entities and combines them into a single entity. So here I have a basic house, and if I wanted to move it, I really couldn't just move part of it because, well, I just move only that part of it. I need to select the entire thing. If I were to, say, marquee select the whole thing, I could certainly move it that way. But that can get kind of complex, particularly if you have a complex scene. It would be hard to isolate just those things you want to move. And this is where grouping comes in very handy. We can group in one of two ways. If I select everything, I can right-click above it, and we have an option here called Make Group, and that's probably the easiest way to do it. You can also find Make Group under the Edit menu. So however you select it, all you have to do is Make Group, and when you do that, it creates this single entity. And now I can just select it and move it however I want. If I want to, say, scale it, I could do that as well, and everything sticks together. So all I have to do is click anywhere on this, and it's selected. Now, there are times when you may need to tweak or adjust your model, and in order to do that, all you have to do is select the group and double-click on it. So when I double left-click on it, double-click to open it, and that way you can access whatever you want, and then double-clicking outside of it closes the group. So as you can see, this is a really nice way to keep your objects organized in your scenes. Another way to organize your scene is to use layers. Now these allow you to have named groups of objects that can be shown or hidden. So here we have a simple scene, and I've already set up some layers. We can get to layers by going into Window, Layers, and this is our little layer editor here. Now in our layer editor, we have currently 4 layers. Now the first layer is layer 0. Now that's the default layer that SketchUp always provides. If you draw something in SketchUp, it will always go into this default layer. And on top of that, we can add our own. So we have one for the house, we have one for the fence, and we have one for the plants. Now we can hide or show any one of these. So if I click on this visibility tab, I can, for example, hide or show the house, hide or show the fence, or hide or show the plants. But now when I click on this, notice I'm going to get an error message. And the error message says I can't hide the current layer. The current layer is determined by this radio button here. So this is the current layer. So if I create anything new in this scene, it will show up in this layer. So for example, if I were to just draw a simple shape such as a rectangle, it's now in this current layer. So if I switch my current layer to layer 0, I can now hide my plants along with that new object that I drew into it. So when you draw things with a layered scene, you need to make sure that you're on the proper layer when you start drawing. I'm going to go ahead and select this object and delete it. And let's go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to create a new layer here. Let's just create a sidewalk in front of our house. So I'm going to create a layer called sidewalk, and I'm going to make it the active layer. So now whatever I draw is going to go into this layer. So I'm going to make a very simple sidewalk. I'm going to select my rectangle shape here, and left click and drag, and just drag something resembling a sidewalk out in front of it. And then I can use my push-pull tool to just give it a little bit of volume so that we have something that looks like it's in 3D. So now I have these faces and edges in this layer. So if I go to a different layer, I can hide or show that layer. Now if I want, I can also delete this layer. So let's go ahead and make, say, the house the active layer. And now I'm going to select my sidewalk layer and delete it. So I'm going to hit the minus sign here, and it says delete layer. Now it's going to ask me a question. Do I want to move the contents to the default layer, which is layer 0, to the current layer, radio button? So now and when I hide it, hide layer 0, it's now in that layer. So as you can see, this is a great way to organize complex scenes. So I hope you can use layers in your projects. If you want a little bit more control over your sketch, you can switch that on or off here. So I can edit any of my components to those original creation parameters. So if I wanted to, I could change where it glues to. Also, these ones which are grayed out, such as face camera or face the sun. So creating components is very, very useful. It's a great way to standardize objects that you use. So go ahead and start creating components for your own SketchUp projects. One of the great things about SketchUp is that it has a really good community of users. And these users love to complete without someplace
notice
to
how
include.
that
So let's go back into a 3D warehouse and find something else. I'm going to go ahead
the
and get
motion
models.
of that object to that
And this time let's
axis. So right
do,
now,
let's type
walking to
patio
red,
set. So
and here
we'll find a
I'm
table chair
locking
somewhere
to
in there.
green. So as long as I've got the
And
shift
here we
key
go.
down,
Here's a
it
great
will
patio
walk
set.
to
So I'm
that
just going to
axis.
pick one at random here.
Now, if I
your
want
list
to
may
move
show
along a
different
very
objects
specific
because these are
axis, I can
constantly
use the arrow
refreshing.
keys on the
So
keyboard.
one that I'm loading
So the
may not
up
be the one
arrow
that you load, but let's
locks
go
it
ahead and load
to
this into the
blue.
SketchUp model. And into
locks
your
it to
scenes.
green.
There's everything from appliances
So these
to
are some ways
plants
to
to
move
cars
your
and
objects
vehicles.
very,
There's
very
really a wealth
precisely.
of different objects
Now, if you want,
in the
you
3D
can also
warehouse.
use the move
So go ahead
tool
and
as
take
a
some
way
time to
to
explore the
copy
3D
objects.
warehouse and understand
So
all the different
if I
things
select my
that you
object
can bring
and hold
into
down the
your
control
SketchUp scenes.
key and left click and
In
drag,
SketchUp, components don't have
I
to
can
be
make a
just
copy
simple
of that
objects.
object.
They can also have
Now, this works not
intelligence
just
that
for
comes
one
along
object.
with.
And let's take
So
a
look
look
at some
both of
components
these,
that I've already
holding
placed
down Shift
into the
key.
scene.
And let's go ahead and see.
Intelligence.
Selecting and moving
So I'm going to go ahead
objects
and
in
select this
SketchUp is
fence and
very
drag it into the
intuitive.
scene.
So go ahead and
Now,
practice
this
with
fence
this
by
tool, get the
itself
hang
is
of it,
probably
and we'll
only
move on from
minimally
here.
useful because fences are
In
either
addition to
longer
moving
or
objects, we
shorter,
can also
and they can be
manipulate them
varied
by
in
rotating
size.
and scaling
This
them.
like my scale tool.
Now, the rotate tool can be
and
found
scale
here
it horizontally.
in the toolbar, or I can go
Watch what
into the
happens
tools
when I let
menu
go.
and find
It
it here.
recalculates the
Now,
fence.
the hotkey for
so
this
that
is
the
the letter
pickets
Q.
fill in
So I'm
the
going to go ahead
gaps.
and select rotate. And notice
So
how
if I
my
were to shrink
cursor
it
changes to
smaller,
something that looks a little bit
again,
like a
the pickets
protractor.
fill in.
Now, when I hover
Now, this is a great
over
example of
any
how
surface,
intelligent
it will start
objects
to
can make
snap
things a lot
to
easier
the
for you
vertical
in
and
SketchUp.
horizontal faces
Now, the
of that
intelligence
surface. So if I'm
extends
on this
beyond
table,
just being able to
it'll snap
scale
to
it.
the
We
top
can
of the
also
table
change
or
the
to the
spacing
sides
of the pickets
table.
in this
Now,
particular
to activate
fence.
the tool,
So if we
you
go
need
into
2 clicks
Window,
to start.
we have an
and
option
1
here
click
called
to end.
Component Options.
So the first click sets
that
the
up,
pivot point. So about
and we
which
can see that
axis
this is a
do I want to
repeat
rotate this?
example.
Well, I'm
So
gonna
this
go
is an
somewhere around the
example
center
that
here.
SketchUp has
And I'm going
provided.
to left now I can actually start
and
to
our
rotate. And
SketchUp
notice
Pro
how it's
course will
rotating
tell
around
you
that
how to do
pivot
that.
point I
But this
set.
really is just how to use
Now,
it.
if I
So if I
rotate
want to change my
90 degrees,
spacing,
it
which
will
was 5
snap. It will
inches,
try
I
to
can
snap
say
to
change
90
it
degrees
to,
there,
and now
or
my pickets
there.
are further
So
apart.
every
If I
90
wanted to
degrees
change
it'll
that
snap.
to a lower number,
And then left click a third
now
time.
it also has
Now, this was
intelligence, but it's a
rotating
little
around
bit
the blue
different
axis,
than
but we
the
can
fence.
certainly
So each
rotate around
object can
any
be
other
configured
axis. So
differently.
let's go ahead
If I
and
try
rotate
to
around
scale
the
this,
red
notice
axis.
how
I'm
it
gonna go
turns
ahead and
yellow.
maybe select the bottom
But
and
I
rotate
can
it down.
change
Now
it
I've flipped the
using the
chair
component
onto
options
its
window.
back.
So let's go ahead into
Now, if I
component
want, I
options.
can also
You see these are 30
the
inches. Let's
30
let's make
degrees.
it
I can
80
just type in
inches.
30, hit enter, and it will snap
Width,
to
well,
it.
we can make it either
Or
narrower
I can,
or
again, just type
wider.
whatever I want.
Let's
So
go
let's say I
ahead and
wanted
just make it a
60
little bit
instead of
narrower.
30. I can do that.
And then we can
it will
also
continue
change
to rotate
thickness.
around
Now, again,
that
with these pull-down
pivot point
menus,
until
if
I
you
click
change
off
the
of it.
thickness,
If I wanted to
you may
rotate
have
that
to hit
back, I could just
apply.
click here.
And then, again, hit apply. So, as you can see, we have a lot of different options, and we can constrain people to making their
with the
objects
rotate tool
very
is we can
specific.
duplicate
So they
objects.
might
Now,
not
this
be
is
able to
very
scale it
similar.
or
Take this
select it
couch
from a
here,
pull-down menu.
and I left click on it.
I'm going to show you
All
one
I have
more
to
here.
do is
Here's a
left
cafe
click
table.
and then
Let's go ahead and
hold down
drag
the
that into the
control
scene.
key.
Now this one's
Left
even
click
a little
again,
more complex. I'm
and
going
I
to turn
can
on component
rotate
options
out
here.
another
And we'll
border
scale
one along that opposite
So we can
point. So
change just about anything we want. So we can change the base color.
These ones will scale along the blue axis,
and then if we start changing things such as the size of the table and stuff, notice how the price will change. So let's make this a small table.
Scale the object.
When I do, the price goes down.
I'm uniformly
Table
scaling this
top
up. If you select one of these corners that are on an edge,
instead of
you can scale.
You can see floral is $50 more. So if I make this a square table,
one axis,
it goes down in price.
two axes.
So you can see how powerful this is. So
those are
a lot of the components that you will download from 3D Warehouse, so make sure you take a look at those. And if you want to create your own smart components, you'll have to use SketchUp Pro and our SketchUp Pro. I want to show you one more thing you can do with components, and that's interact with them. Now, this interactivity is applied using SketchUp Pro, but any SketchUp Make user can take advantage of it. So this tool works very, very simply. All you do is you find it under called Interact, and that turns your cursor into this, and if I hover over objects, it tells me whether it can or can't interact with our object line to activate. So I left click. I can also interact with this dishwasher to open any SketchUp Make color, texture, and materials to our objects.
I could also
now the interface for these is very Macintosh.
Another thing
so I'm going to go through the Windows tools first, and then we'll move on to the Mac tools. So Windows users, stick with me here. Materials can be found in Window
a little bit wider.
And this is our materials editor.
On to the other side.
Now, right now, it's only showing one material, and this is a material that is in my model, and it's just this neutral material. Now, if I want, I can use this pull-down menu to go to any one of these
collections of them as well.
Materials.
So if I were to go into my select
tool, if I wanted to go to say ground cover, I could select that, and it would show all the different types of ground cover.
Move my staircase.
Another way to look at this is to go up here to materials.
A few of them.
And this shows me a folder because
they're all selected. Reshape our object.
Let's go ahead and do one more. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down, and let's go.
And this will become very important when you start
let's paint the doors in wood color. So we just have to select one of the woods here
into modeling with SketchUp,
and go ahead and again
we'll have to select multiple faces.
So as you can see, it's very easy to apply color to one or more faces of your model. Have the neutral white color as well as the shingles and the cherries. And also notice how we can select any one of these, and they will show up here as our main color.
Any face